Workers of Reddit, what is your most embarrassing work story? Story number 1. Let me preface by saying that my phone does this thing where sometimes after I hit send on a text, it decides to occasionally, 1 to 2% of the time, send the text to a completely different conversation or person. I was on a business trip to Indianapolis with my boss and had just got back. My boss and I stopped back at the office real quick after the trip, and then we both went home. So I get home and my girlfriend sent me a nice picture. I decided to respond. Oh my fucking god, I fucking want you. Get back here right now so I can fuck you all night. My brilliant, idiotic smartphone decided now was a great time to send that text to someone other than my girlfriend, and chose my boss. My boss is a woman, and I am a man.
I've decided that I want to die.
Story number 2. Put in my 2-week notice. My last day, I came in to drop off my laptop, portable monitor, etc. Chatting with our CFO during my exit interview, and went to sit down. Missed the chair, fell on my butt, and broke my laptop screen. Tough way to go out. Story number 3. When I was relatively new in retail, I just got a knife for opening packages and stuff. I was cutting plastic foil off a pallet of water bottles. I managed to cut inside one of the bottles, and a 2-meter leak came out of the bottle, making the whole floor wet. My boss was working right next to me and just asked, "Was that the new knife?" Story number 4. One night, I was drinking with my friends and passed out. I knew I had to work at 2 the next day. I must have passed out because I woke up in my bed with no idea how I got there. I was still very drunk. The clock read 2:30. So I called my boss on her cell, drunkenly telling her that I was on my way, babbling something about oversleeping. She calmly informed me that it was 2:30 a.m. and that I should sleep it off.
Hello,
Hey, what are you doing?
Quagmire. I'm sleeping.
Yeah, I was just out with Joe. What are you doing?
I just told you.
Oh, that's right. I just asked that.
Story number 5. Surprise period hit me once, and I thought that would be my worst day. In an effort to never be caught off guard again, I keep a backup pad and pair of underwear in a pencil bag in my desk. One day, my boss and I were working on a project on my computer and his pen wasn't working. So without asking, he just goes in my desk drawer. He grabbed the pencil bag right away and opened it up, only to pull out my backup pair of underwear. I saw his brain trying to figure out every scenario for why I would have underwear at work, and I'm just sitting there like, this is why you don't go through other people's stuff without asking.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the f*** is that?
Story number 6. As a junior engineer, I accidentally walked into the men's restroom on one of my first weeks on my second ever professional job. I was so embarrassed. I ran out of the restroom and back to my desk. I got my purse and keys and hightailed it back home, where I changed clothes. Then I went back to work.
Whoa, 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 hey.
Story number 7. First day of first job. I was really nervous setting up my voicemail greeting. Kept messing it up and re-recording it. First voicemail. Yes, I'm old. People used to call each other back then. A manager just laughed hysterically for a minute before telling me to check my greeting. Turns out, I wasn't erasing and re-recording my greetings. I just added it to each time. So she got to listen to about 5 minutes of me tripping over my words and swearing and starting again. Story number 8. Not so much embarrassing as it was hilarious. After hours, a guy was on a forklift with a big stack of plywood speeding down an aisle. I saw him coming towards me and screamed, and he stopped abruptly and dropped the plywood all over the floor. Now every time someone is on a forklift, they have to remind me not to scream. Story number 9. I work shift work. My office is separated into cubicles. I was standing in front of my coworker's desk and decided that as she couldn't see me over the wall, this would be the perfect time to adjust my bra. I lifted up my sweater and pulled the girls into proper placement. As I was in the middle of essentially feeling myself up, I looked to my left and saw the night security guard standing there, staring at me. We made eye contact and he ran to the right, not noticing it's a dead end. He ended up walking back my direction and found me hiding under my coworker's desk, crying, laughing. Story number 10. I thought this kind of stuff only happened in the movies until it happened to me. In my last job as an EMT, I lost my uniform pants and decided to buy work pants for $2 at Goodwill. I thought it was a brilliant idea. They were working really well until one bright, beautiful morning, I squatted down to reach for the handle of the gurney and rip, the entire back of my pants split as I stood up, completely. Of course, I was wearing a thong. We loaded the patient in the ambulance, and luckily there was another crew at the dialysis center, so I didn't have to go in with my ass literally hanging out of my pants. Went to Dickies for new pants. $40, but totally worth it.
Hey, bud.
How's it going?
I heard you're having a good time.
Oh, I'm having a good time, alright?
You are?
Yeah!
Good.
Hell yeah! Show me your tits.
Story number 11. Worked retail in college for an upscale-ish mall chain that had several stores in the area. Several of us got to know the employees at the closest store, while as we would often trade managers, helped out at other stores to cover shifts, etc. One day, I had to call the other store to check the availability of an item that we didn't have in stock. I didn't know the guy who answered, and he was obviously nervous and most likely knew as he kept fumbling his words and needed me to repeat what I was saying at least 3 times before he got it right. Finally, he puts me on hold, and I let loose with the nastiest, derpiest impression of him for the benefit of my coworkers close by. Yeah, you guessed it. I was on mute, not hold. And he heard the whole thing. It was a while before I went to help out that store again. Story number 12. Years ago, when I was like 19, I worked with this rather bold girl who was the billing manager's niece. We'd been flirting back and forth for a week or so, and it was getting sort of obvious to everybody. Anyway, one day I'm leaning against the doorframe of their office, and the girl, her aunt, and my supervisor were in there chatting. Her aunt starts giving her a hard time. It happened to be Valentine's Day, and everyone is eating these heart-shaped suckers they handed out. Her aunt is telling her, sheesh, quit stringing the guy, me, along, and just give him some already. After a few minutes of prodding her, go kiss him, right now. The girl goes, fine, and walks towards me, so my stupid ass is leaning against the door, gnawing on a sucker, barely paying attention, and before my brain could go, hey, something's about to happen, stand up straight, she grabs my face in her hands and plants one on me, except I was off balance and unprepared, so I immediately toppled over backwards and fell onto a big pile of boxes. The laughter, I can still hear it echoing in my mind. My face was as red as the sucker I'd been eating. Story number 13. I had just gotten new contacts and my vision was still a bit fuzzy. I evacuated the wrong building when we had a poison gas alarm go off. Instead of hitting the button to evacuate building 4, I evacuated building 1, floor 4. It just happened to be the same floor that the president of the company was on. He also happened to be in a board meeting.
What am I doing? I am blowing dodge. I'm getting out of town. Whatever you call it, I am running away from my responsibilities. Well, it feels good.
Story number 14. I work in a lab, and on the second day, we had a sexual harassment/safety seminar. Since I was the new person, I was the subject of all the demonstrations. Being new and forced to stand in place while the instructor showed inappropriate places to touch on my body was pretty uncomfortable. One of the demonstrations was about socializing while holding chemicals. The instructor held an open bottle of liquid while telling us not to gesture. While indicating how not to gesture, he gestured all over me, and I was forced to strip and stand in the chemical shower. Story number 15. When I worked at Pizza Hut, we had these huge containers of oil. The oil was then poured into a container that had a pump on it so that you could pump the oil into pans. One of my coworkers was overfilling oil in the pump containers, and all of a sudden I hear a loud thud and motherfucker. When I ran over, I found him covered, and I mean just fucking soaked in oil. Luckily, he lived right across the street, so he just ran home to change clothes. It was nasty though. Last story. It was an office Christmas party on a Friday night. We rented out a small banquet hall, and there was food, dancing, and an open bar all night. You know how those things go. Starts off slow, people are nursing their beer or wine. Then after people finish eating, the drinking gets heavier. Someone organizes a round of shots for a small group of people in close proximity. Starts off with easy shots of your choice. Then more people want to be included, and the shots get progressively harder until you're doing back-to-back tequila shots after having already drank 6+ drinks in the span of 3 hours. People got shit-faced. Everyone was having fun but looked ridiculous. Around 10 p.m., one guy was super sloppy and couldn't form sentences as he tried to flirt with women. Around 10:30, he gave up and sat down at a booth. Around 10:45 p.m., he has his shirt untucked and his hand down his pants fondling himself. Someone noticed and shouts at him, "Dude, what the fuck are you doing?" The guy's eyes open wide and a surge of adrenaline lets him spring up to a seated position. It was too fast for him though, and he got dizzy and vomited on himself. Covered in vomit, 2 guys carry him into the bathroom. He's put in a stall to vomit everything else. The guy ends up shitting himself and passing out. People are grossed out at first, but then someone explains that when you die, you void your vows. So people are freaking out now. No one has any medical training, and no one can figure out how to check someone's pulse from their wrist. An ambulance comes, and the guy is taken to the hospital on a stretcher. The party's over, and everyone is asked to leave. HR and a few people stick behind to settle matters. No idea how the guy felt the next morning when he woke up in a hospital. He didn't come back to work. No one spoke of it afterwards, and the company stopped doing events like this.
You catch